I want to talk about something today that I haven't really found a lot of information about or resources about, but this is something that has changed my life, and I think a lot of people could benefit from it, and that is ketamine therapy. So, I think it was in April that I've decided to finally invest money into taking medication for my mental health problems. I was in a really bad place and my therapy skills were no longer effective. And as somebody who has been against medication for a long time, it was a pretty major shift that I had to go through, but I am very grateful that I did. I no longer think medication is evil. I think it's a very stigmatized topic, just like mental illness, but it's something that we have to talk about as a society, as humans, as people. We have to become aware of how we accept and how we process and digest mental illness, because it's never a character flaw, as a lot of us believe, and I think that's where a lot of the stigma comes from. Character flaw, it can make somebody evil, it can make somebody bad, and the heavy emotions and the heavy perceptions that come from it are not easy to overcome. But I think if everybody made a little bit more effort to fight stigmas, we would have a much better society as a whole. But today I want to talk about ketamine. So this is the company that I use. Its name is Joyous. It provides at-home ketamine treatments. If you know anything about ketamine treatments, then a lot of people use ketamine treatments as IVs. It's where you go to a clinic and you sit down in a room and you have a bed and they do an infusion for ketamine for you, where they put it in your elbow, ditch of your elbow, and you lay down, and the session takes a long time, hours, sometimes multiple hours, and you essentially have this trip, but you're assisted by a professional therapist through your trip. And what happens during that trip is that your brain changes to where you can process your thoughts and your emotions. And if you have trauma, which a lot of people do, you can process your trauma in a way that is in a controlled setting, in a helpful setting, with somebody who has your best interest in mind, and somebody that has experience with healing and mental health, all that sorts. For me, I couldn't invest the money in IV therapy, so I have decided to go with an online service. There are a few different ones. Joyous was the one that I chose because I actually looked at getting a treatment from them last year, but I didn't end up going through with it. So I chose this time, I'm gonna do it, and I have to say, my life is amazing now. I am basically mental illness free. I am able to do basic functions. When I was first starting this, it was hard for me to even work full time. My mental illness was becoming a disability and something that was starting to impact me in an extremely negative way. I couldn't live my life, but I have started this treatment and I have reaped such benefits from it that I can't even count them all on my hands, on my fingers. So the way this works is they ship medicine to you once a month. You will be meeting with a professional provider from their company, a therapist that works with them. They will go over your mental illness history with you, your health history with you, physical health, anything, and then they will prescribe you a certain milligram of this troche. Basically, this thing, these are like dissolvable squares that you put in your mouth, and you're supposed to put them either under your tongue or in your cheek, because something called buccal, I think it's called buccal absorption. It's what happens when it absorbs through your skin directly into your bloodstream, and that way the ketamine works effectively and quickly. That's how they do IV, but because you're not doing IV, you're gonna use the second closest options to an IV, which is through your bloodstream, through your cheek, through your mouth. And you're not supposed to swallow it or anything. So I was prescribed the lowest dose at first, 15 milligrams, and slowly I went up as they were sending me these text message surveys where I would answer questions about my treatment and how it's going and my symptoms. And within the first week, I already felt relief. My first couple of weeks were actually very trippy. I'm an artist, I'm a very imagination-based person, and I had, my sessions were like almost trippy. I would get visuals. One of the most profound visuals that I got was I was sitting in the backyard of where I had lived with a person that inflicted a lot of trauma on me, and I was sitting in their backyard while I was having my session, and I remember just transforming into a phoenix rising out of the ashes. That's the visual that I got. I was just sitting there, and then I was like feeling all this anger and sadness and this feeling of pain that comes with having trauma, and maybe you know what I'm talking about. But then I was feeling so much compassion and love and for myself, and then I just like turned into ashes and completely transformed and flew above the scene entirely with my wings spread out. I was this beautiful golden phoenix, and it was amazing. Another visual that I had was I was basically in my physical form the way it is, and I was walking and then I started running, and then like I got stripped of my clothes, I got stripped of my hair, my skin, everything, until I was bare bones. And as I kept running, I acquired new skin, I acquired new clothes. It was like this suit, kind of like Katniss Everdeen in the Hunger Games when she was shooting the arrows in her practice run. I had this suit on and I was running, and it was just like I was a completely transformed person. So this session has completely transformed the way I feel about myself, where to the point I feel like I'm so confident in who I am now. I'm confident and feel strong in my ability to heal. And this is probably the biggest thing for me, is that I feel like I am new, I'm transformed, and I am myself, which I haven't felt in probably years. I had glimpses here and there, but this is the most stable I've been. So the confidence has gone up. I'm having nearly no anxiety, and that's impossible to have no anxiety at all because that's life. But I feel so much more confident, and I feel so much more open, and I feel so much more like myself. And I still overthink, and I still get anxious, and I still have my normal thought processes, because I think everybody's predisposed to be and think a certain way. We're all different individuals, but it's no longer where I'm getting into these loops where I'm completely lost in thought, and I'm despair and misery, this like existential anxiety and depression. I've been on a consistent dose for 2 months now. It's 60 milligrams. They put me on 75. They kept upping my dose, and at 75 I was having too much dissociation, so they brought it down to 60, and it's great. I usually divide it between my day. I take one in the afternoon and one at night. I don't like doing it right before bed. I find it makes it hard for me to fall asleep, but everybody's different. And I am also, oh yeah, I should share, this causes dissociation. Like I said, it is a dissociative because it's originally used for sedation for surgeries, and they use it for horse tranquilizers as well. I believe that's how it started. So it will cause dissociation, but it's found to be helpful even for dissociative disorders. Don't take my word for it. These are studies that I've read. So it's helpful for a myriad of problems with mental health, depression, anxiety, PTSD, CPTSD, even personality disorders like borderline personality disorder. Imagine where we could get if we would just use these treatments as far as the treatment of other personality disorders, like other cluster B personality disorders. Now, I don't know how this works on cluster A personality disorders, which are schizoid personality disorder, and the likes of that. They're more delusional based. I'm not sure, but for me and my comorbid diseases, it has been extremely life-changing. I would highly recommend looking into this if you feel like traditional medicine didn't work for you, if you feel like you're at your end of your rope and you have no other way of healing. I would highly recommend Again, this company is called Joyous. It's wonderful. I love it. I have had only positive experiences with them. Some people will say that customer service can be a little bit janky. However, I found that they're always responsive. They have also been providing me with financial assistance, and they have met me halfway when I've had to push my payments. They've offered me to talk about what was going on if I had reported to feel a little bit more depressed during my survey, and everything with them so far has been only positive. And I found out also that this treatment is something you can do long term. This is not necessarily a once done and gone kind of treatment. You can do it for a long time. So I plan to stay with it. And this is just my review of how positive ketamine treatment has been for my life. So hopefully this has been beneficial. Thank you.